I was fortunate to be able to sit down recently with Forsyth County Schools' Tim Fleming and TIG's account executive Bob Kopesky to discuss a success story of a recent VSS solution sold in the district. I felt it would be advantageous for the business to circle back around with these two to discuss the opportunity, not from a mere technological perspective, but from a sales cycle perspective as it pertains to TIG's client engagement methodology. Let's take a look.
My name is Tim Fleming, and I'm the Director of Technology Services for Forsyth County Schools in Cumming, Georgia. We have around 46,000 students and 5,000 staff and teachers. I've been with Forsyth County Schools for a little over a year and have enjoyed my time there. Forsyth County Schools is a great school system, ranked one of the highest in the state of Georgia, also in the nation. Outstanding superintendent, Board of Education, leadership is fantastic. Really understands the use of technology. We were one of the first systems to use, to have bring your own technology, or BYOT, in the state of Georgia. And that has been a staple for us throughout the years.
Hey, I'm Bob Kopesky, Senior Account Executive, Technology Integration Group, Atlanta Branch. I've been focused on K-12 account sales for about 20 years, working specifically with Forsyth County Schools in the last 18 months. And we've worked on a lot of various solutions from data center to client computing. Anything that touches a RJ45 jack, we've done it.
So when I arrived at Forsyth County Schools, one of the key components that needed to be looked at was our infrastructure. And key to that infrastructure was the data center and the production system that ran our entire data center. It was an aging unit, and it really was not able to grow with us at the rate that we were growing. We have around 46,000 students, but we grow an average of 1,500 to 1,800 students per year. And the amount of data that gets moved around and new software that gets pulled in is tremendous. So we needed a system that was able to scale quickly, that was reliable, that had redundancy. That was one of the key for us, was redundancy. How could we take a system that currently was one that single failure at a data center could take the entire district down, and make it where we had it at numerous locations, to be exact 2 locations in a stretch cluster version or model, so that we were able to lose an entire data center, but yet the students and faculty wouldn't have known that that happened. They were able to keep school going. In the past, if that would have happened for us, it would have really taken us down for days, maybe even weeks. But that's not acceptable in today's K-12 education, and it was important that we found a solution that was redundant, so that we could have immediate failover with only a 1 or 2 ping miss before we're back up and running. And that if we had a catastrophic event that happened where we lost an entire building, that school could still happen if one data center was to be lost totally. So it was important to us to look at those key aspects, as well as how fast it was. It had to be able to move data around quickly between the 2 sites, but also out to the end user. So those were our key components. Obviously, cost is always a factor in that, so we had to look at cost as well. But no matter the cost, it was more important that we had the right system for us. So cost, although a factor in what we did, was not the overall key factor. The key factor was reliability, redundancy, resiliency, so that our students, faculty, and staff have immediate access to data at any given point in time. So first we worked with TIG to look at our existing system, to look at what our needs were and what the system was doing and what it wasn't doing. And they helped us really establish an evaluation tool to look at that current system so that we could understand where the shortfalls were, but where the positives were as well. Using that data, we began to evaluate 6 to 8 different products with TIG, and letting them show us the pros and cons of each one. This was an important part for us because there was a lot of great systems out there, but really there was only the one system that met every need, that checked every box for us. And so TIG helped us realize what that was and come up with exactly what that product was going to be and a cost that worked for that product. Once we had established a product, then it was time to establish a strategy for success. TIG helped work with us, and Bob helped work with us to really understand what our goals were, what the success looked like at the end, but then what were our objectives along the way? How could we take this huge overarching project that could take months and scale it down to small pieces that we could bite off and as a group work together to obtain? They helped us look at reasonable and obtainable timelines, as well as what each person's part was. They had responsibilities, but we had responsibilities. So how could we marry those two together to make this project a success?
So we got engaged through Tim Fleming, who became the Director of Technology Services at Forsyth County Schools. He was a previous customer that had a good experience with myself and TIG. So he engaged with us. Basically, when he took over the role at Forsyth County Schools, he had learned that the data center although they had spent a lot of money on some various different solutions, it was a hodgepodge of many different technologies, and he really wanted to have one core tech solution with redundancy. And the number one objective that he had is he wanted to have a solid system that was like a bank, because as we all know, a bank cannot go down. They have to have foolproof redundancy across every location, and that's exactly what Tim Fleming wanted. So myself, some of the Dell resources, and our solutions architects got together and did an assessment using various tools like live optics and individual questionnaires that ultimately led us to be able to determine all the exact problems that they had today, so that we could then determine exactly what it was they were looking for and needed in the solution.
So once we had decided on the product, it then became, how do we bring this new product into existence without having huge downtimes as we transition from the old to the new? This was really where the rubber hit the road, and really where I think TIG shined. They really were more of a mentor than they were a project implementation team. They sat with us, worked with us, we established whose roles were what, and then they helped us, even though it wasn't their role to do one particular job, they mentored us down that path to make sure that our guys understood exactly what it was going to take to make this happen. This was huge for me since I had just walked into the door and had been there less than 6 months. For this to be successful was really the first big initiative I had done, and it was paramount for me. But it was also paramount for our school system, because this was what we were going to rely on for our production system for the data center for the next 5 to 7 years. So to get this set up right from the beginning was really important. And I think one of the keys to that is the preparation that went behind that with TIG. For TIG to sit and look at each aspect and what it was going to take to accomplishment. Sure, there were going to be roadblocks that we were going to run into, but how would we overcome those roadblocks, and whose responsibilities was it to overcome those when they came about? TIG, I felt like, did an outstanding job of doing this, really helping us and mentoring us down that path. We did lots of face-to-face meetings, lots of weekly face-to-face, as well as even bi-weekly phone calls to make sure that everyone was meeting the checkpoints that we had put in place to make this a success. This was truly a huge undertaking. When you think about the size of what this was going to be and how much data had to be moved, it was mind-boggling. But with a thorough plan, we were able to do it successfully and easily to make all of this happen in the timeline that we had decided on.
All right, so once we had determined all the objectives that Forsyth County Schools had in regards to their data center and their overall desires and requirements, we engaged the response center to provide, the different solution architects within the company. We also worked quite a bit with Dell and their team, and we had multiple meetings. One of the things that we wanted to do a little different in this particular project is have a lot of face-to-face meetings versus, a lot of times we get caught up in conference calls. And although those are good, we really wanted to make sure that this one was right and that the entire team from a Dell and a TIG perspective was on the exact same page, and that we had it mastered when it was time to get together with our solution and present it back. So a lot of that took a lot of different processes, and using the response center and using our CRM tools to be able to make sure that all of the information flowed correctly, and that we had a tracking to be able to keep track of this for future engagements or future projects that are similar.
I had worked with Bob Kopesky in TIG in a former district, and so there was a level of trust there that was brought with our relationship to Forsyth County Schools. But really, this project was the largest project that I'd ever done with, anyone, including Bob and TIG. There was a lot riding on this, as this was kind of the first big project that I'd done at Forsyth County Schools, and a lot of eyes were on me to say, is this going to be successful? And if it was, then this guy knows what he's talking about, and if it wasn't, then maybe we hired the wrong person. So I felt internal pressure to really make this successful. That's where I think Bob and TIG shined. They were so thorough with what they were able to go through in the planning process. They were there face to face to help us think through problems, but also when they occurred, they were right there to be able to help us overcome those problems. When you do something at this magnitude, there are going to be problems, and they were there quickly to help respond to those and make sure that it didn't impact the project. It only impacted a small portion of what was going on at that current time. To me, this was a springboard for building our relationship with Bob and with TIG. This project was the springboard for other projects to come. So I hate to say that it was a time to prove what TIG was capable of, but I think it was a time for me to prove what I was capable of, and TIG supporting me and then proving what they were capable of. They did so with flying stars. It was incredible how easy this went. I was so impressed with it. My whole team was impressed with it. My supervisor and superintendent were impressed with it. This happened seamlessly, and we were able to use this momentum to do other projects. projects like the 26,000 Chromebooks we bought shortly after this, the 3,500 teacher notebooks we were able to buy and put in the hands of our teachers. Numerous other small projects that were not quite this scale, but it really gave us a trust factor with TIG, not only for me, but for my entire team. So the trust level rose, and when that happens, you can rely on people to do what they say they're going to do and follow through with their task. That meant a lot to us. This proved to me that TIG was not about selling just a product, but about building a relationship with Forsyth County Schools. And to me, that was hugely important.
So once we did the final objectives and worked with the Dell team, the TIG team, and came up with a solution and came in and presented our solution, we felt pretty good about it. We had discounted dramatically and gotten the price down to a very, very, very manageable number that we felt good about was the floor for Dell. So we thought it was pretty much a done deal. 2 days after we presented, we were informed that SimpliVity was coming in to present, which we all know SimpliVity has a really good solution. So we were a little worried. We still felt like our solution was better. We knew a lot more about the environment because of the assessments and the discoveries that we had done. A lot of face-to-face meetings, a lot of time invested, and they were kind of coming late to the game, so we felt good about that. However, they didn't have that much to lose, so they were just throwing a number at it. And it was one of those situations where they threw a really good number at it, and we were became into a very competitive situation. Now, in the end, obviously, we were able to come up with some changes to our solution that, at the end of the day, was able to be competitive enough and provide them with the level of service that they needed. Not even sure if we were the lowest, but it definitely gave us the final solution that we provided to them was the winning proposal. And I think it was because we invested all the time, we had all the information, and we really did take the time to do the assessments on the front end, which is a very important piece of this. Since the system has been in production, they have had comments and responses from their schools that the network runs flawlessly. The speed is incredible. So for the most part, we did our job. And at the end, what we've also done is we've worked with VMware to create a case study, which is available for your review if you'd like, that kind of details a little bit more, gets a little bit more into the weeds of this project. Now, this could have gone a couple ways. Number one, we could have lost it to SimpliVity and another reseller, or we could have won it, which we did, and then failed miserably on the install, and that didn't happen. Once we came to the table with the solution, we got everything, all the products shipped. We had project meetings. We had a good project manager that was on top of this project from the beginning to the end. We had people on site, essays, and did the actual implementation. Now, Forsyth County Schools has a lot of really, really good engineers, so they didn't 100% need our expertise, but they did appreciate it at the end of the day because we were able to provide, kind of a stand over the shoulder approach to where they did the work, and if they had any hiccups, we were right there. Additionally, VMware sent someone on site, and I thought that was a pretty nice touch. So, the reason I say that is because at the end of the day, the solution went really well, and it could have gone wrong, and we then got another opportunity to deploy 26,000 Chromebooks for them and 3,500 teacher laptops. So when you do things right, you get the next opportunity, and I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
My final thoughts about this product and project, as well as, I guess, advice for people in the sales industry is a couple things. Number one, start right. Make sure you do assessments to know exactly what products they have and what the customer's needs are. Make sure that you understand and fully understand what the needs are of the customer so that you can help build a solution that meets all those needs. I think I would also say that it's important to follow through. When you set timelines and goals, make sure that you follow through with those goals and meet those timelines. It's important to the customer and it's important to building the relationship. That would be my next one, is build a relationship. Don't let this be about this one project. Let it be a springboard for building a relationship that lasts a long time. So don't focus so hard on this one product, this one sale, that you miss the idea that we've got to build a relationship piece so that we can trust each other and then we can grow that relationship. And then I think my last piece of advice would be, don't sell the product, sell the potential. Talk about what it can do, what it can be. Grow a big picture of what's possible. If you follow these steps, we can get to fill in the blank. I think if you do these things, you will build relationships with people. You'll help CTIOs and directors of technology across the country. And I think you'll have a winning strategy to outstanding project performance.
As you can see, this interview demonstrates a how-to approach to the TIG's client engagement methodology and the importance of starting right in the sales cycle. Now more than ever, we have to adhere to this framework throughout the pre-post-sale work efforts to allow for a successful start to trusted partner team selling win. I hope this has been informative for you, and I thank you for watching.